Alright, this is my review on the KWA Gas Blowback MAC 11. I've had this gun for about 3 years. Got it off eBay. I wasn't actually able to test the gun until about a year later when I got gas. And it shot okay for about, I'm not really sure, I played in a few games or anything, but it started to malfunction. I'll get to that later. General construction of the gun is very sturdy. It's mostly ABS plastic, very good ABS actually, which it actually imitates metal really well. In fact, it's got some weld seams on there to imitate it even more. And just from looking at it, you probably would think it was metal, except for slight discoloration of the magazine that actually shows it is metal. But metal parts in the gun would include magazine, barrel, swivel sling mount, fire selector switch, bolt handle, and bolt. Also, if I didn't say the trigger already, trigger, stock, and the safety switch right here. The magazine is the biggest piece of metal in the entire gun. It weighs about a good 1 pound in weight, and it's probably one of the more sturdy mags I've ever seen. But then again, most gas blowback mags are metal, and this one you could probably beat someone with it or use as a hammer and it probably won't break. But ironic to what I just said, the mag is broken. Or at least that's what I suspect. Because right now my gun isn't really liking green gas right now. It doesn't want to fire. It does the one common thing where you fire a few shots and it seems like it's firing and it's not actually shooting the BBs at all. Then it'll randomly fire once in a while. If anybody knows what this problem actually is, please contact me and tell me, because this is irritating the shit out of me. Now, another thing about the mag, which I do not know if it actually comes like this or if it was mistreated enough by the person who used to own it that it's broken this way. But the BB follower right here, it extends past the two little ears to hold the BBs in place before they load into the gun. And I've never actually seen that in any type of gun, or any type of airsoft gun. It do that like that, because what happens is that when it's loaded in the gun, you pull the bolt back. When it runs out of ammo, it stops the bolt about an inch from completing its complete cycle. Which, when it does that, the gas piston right here it hits up against this little metal part right here, and I do not know if that's necessarily good for the gun or not. Another con about the gun would have to be the stock. Not a complete con, because the stock is made completely of metal, clicks firmly into a locking position, but does have a little bit of movement. When you retract it, it also firmly locks in place with a loud click, which is always reassuring. You want things to be nice and firm. You don't want them to be all quiet and stuff. That doesn't have any reassurability in that. But the stock itself locks firmly. I could hit this all day. That's not going to retract on itself. But it's got a lot of movement, but it's not a real firearm, so there's no real recoil coming from this thing, and you're not going to be holding on for dear life because it's not going to be going everywhere like the real MAC 11. But the important thing is that it doesn't retract on itself, and it is made of complete metal construction, so that's a really big plus. Retracts, locks firmly back in there. When I got the gun, the stock itself was broken. I do not know if it was a manufacturer defect or maybe it was just mistreated enough, but how could you really mistreat a stock? When I got the gun, there's supposed to be a small bolt right here that holds in a little notch that locks the stock. When I got it, the end part right here would swivel and wouldn't lock. I had to put a screw here, and the screw actually came out. I have to put a different one in because the metal pushes up against the screw when you're folding it. When it locks in place, it's definitely not doing that. But when you fold it, the metal pushes up against it, and the screw is actually starting to come loose already. It's about the second time I even JB welded and it's trying to push it out. So I'm probably guessing that it is a manufacturer defect, that it just wasn't built good enough. But it does click firmly into the closed position. It does move a little bit, but you know, what are you going to do? The gun itself is very sturdy. There's no squeaks, or you know, plastic doesn't really move a bit at all. The finish is okay. It's not really that bad of metal, personally. What broke inside the gun, the second problem with it, was the hammer, the internal hammer, which hit the valve on the back. It had a small nub on it with a spring on it, which kept it downward. It was spring loaded, and that nub broke off. I'm not sure if that was due to you know, the other person that owned it, but the gun worked fine for a bit, and I can only guess that it just broke out of wear and tear, and that isn't very good, because I had the gun for 3 years, but I maybe used it maybe a handful of times because I wasn't able to get gas, and when I finally did, I didn't use it that much because it was having problems. I forget exactly what was keeping me from using it for a long time, but the gun does not want to fire now ever since that part broke it. But I did fix the part, and it seems to work, but I can only guess that it's the mag that isn't working right now. I give the gun about a 7 out of 10. It's got great construction, looks awesome. There's not really any blemishing in the metal. It's overall really good construction, but reliability and durability isn't very long, I would have to say. And the mag itself, seeing this completely made out of metal, cost about $40 to replace. And I'm not really, you know, up to shelling out that much money for a magazine. And I'm hoping to God that I can fix it somehow, but right now it's doing that thing I mentioned before at the start of the video, and if anybody knows how to fix that, or you know, can give me any advice on that problem at all, please let me know. I need to grease the gun and everything, but I've taken it apart, know the complete anatomy, I've cleaned the parts and make sure they go back in there and function alright, and you know, all that, but I just don't seem to understand what the problem is. One thing I left out is the gun, of course, is full auto. Everybody probably knows this, but it does have semi-auto, and it flicks firmly into each selection. I've also looked inside, and the fire group is all metal and very reliable. It has some wear marks on there, but overall the internals are pretty good. The bolt is version 2 bolt metal, and for about being probably more than 4 years old, the gun is still held up pretty good, except for the problems I've stated. I still think it's a good gun despite all the problems, but you probably need to replace your mag sometime or another, or just baby the living hell out of it. Because a lot of people, probably the problem that might be with this, I'm guessing that it is supposed to be like this, but letting it shoot forward like that constantly is what has bent this small part right here, which is what I think might be the problem with it. This little handle right here, which you use to pull the BB follower down, is flexed downwards towards the back of the mag, and I can only think that that might be the problem, but even with that fixed, it would still extend up just a teeny bit. Overall, gun is a good gun. I would personally buy it, but you'd have to be pretty gun savvy to take care of it. If you don't know what you're doing, I probably wouldn't suggest it, because the gun, if you don't give it, you know, any work, or you know, daily tune-ups, not daily tune-ups, but tune-ups whenever they're needed, then the gun isn't probably going to last a long time. As can be shown, that it was a kid's mother that sold these guns on eBay. I got a Desert Eagle with it too. That's what I said, guns. But he probably treated it like complete crap, and that's why most of it didn't work when I got it. And I tried as hard as I could to fix it and take care of it and everything, but it probably looks like I still might need to replace the mag. Overall, the gun is a great gun, great sidearm. You can get the extra mags for it. There's even a special holster for it as well. And whenever you use the gun's definitely terrifying in an airsoft fight. Everybody's afraid of it, because it just makes a loud rat-tat-tat noise with the metal bolt and everything like that. Just spraying BBs everywhere. It will empty the mag in about 2 seconds, 50-round mag. That concludes my review for the Airsoft KWA Gas Blowback MAC 11.